Hey, this is Alex from King of the Gym, and in this video, I'll be reviewing the Force USA Compact Leg Press and Hack Squat Machine, which is a 3-in-1 leg machine that has really impressed me with its smooth sled motion, surprisingly small footprint, and value for the money. I've been putting this thing through the ringer for over 2 months now, testing it on leg presses, hack squats, calf raises, and different variations of these movements. And I've also had my wife, who's 5'2", use it just to see how it performs across different heights regarding range of motion concerns. In this review, I'll break down the performance, adjustability, comfort, build quality, and all the little quirks and details that really matter when you're actually using this thing. And just to let you know, I have my Force USA coupon code in the description so you can save extra on this piece while supporting my channel if you decide to buy after watching this review. So first off, assembly was relatively straightforward. There are a few very helpful walkthroughs on YouTube if you're ever confused by the included instructions. All in all, I had it done in under 2 hours, but it would have been quicker if I had a socket set for tightening. It ships in 3 boxes, one for the sled, one for the platform or footplate, and one for the frame. That split makes it a lot more manageable to actually get into your home gym. All parts were well packed with bubble wrap or plastic wrap around each piece. The only minor issue, there was a little chip in the powder coat on the calf raise attachment, but other than that, no issues. This machine definitely lives up to the compact part of its name. It measures just 65 inches deep and 52 inches wide, or roughly 5.5 feet by 4.5 feet, which is surprisingly small for a lead sled machine like this. When I set it up, I was honestly surprised by how little floor space it took up. Not all of that 52-inch width is actually taken up on the floor. Most of the width comes just from the weight horns and footplate. So visually, it looks even more compact than the dimensions suggest. So to put its size into perspective, Force USA's full-size leg press hack squat machine is about 70% larger, and yet they both offer the same basic functionality. So this unit makes one of the most popular machines from a commercial gym accessible to home gym owners who don't necessarily have a ton of space to work with, and that's a huge win in my book. The sled rides at a 30-degree angle. Most leg press and hack squat machines use a 45-degree incline, but 30 degrees is certainly not unheard of. The difference is you just have to add more weight to get the same resistance. A 30-degree sled angle means every 2 pounds of weight added is equivalent to 1 pound of resistance that you feel. So a 2-to-1 ratio, at least according to ChatGPT's calculations. And speaking of adding weight, the weight capacity is 660 pounds, which refers just to the weight added to the sleeves, not your body weight and not the weight of the sled, which, by the way, is 38 pounds. If you ever get too strong for the max weight, you can always do single leg variations, but for most people, including myself for now at least, it's more than enough. The motion is super smooth, especially once you lubricate the guide rods with the included lubricant. And while the sled can wobble if you pull up on the sleeve, purposely rock side to side on the seat, or load just one side at a time, it's otherwise totally solid when you're actually performing exercises on it, which is what's important. The smoothness is actually one of the biggest highlights of this machine. I was very pleasantly surprised by it, and this is thanks to a couple of things. One is the Force USA's so-called hover glide mechanism, which is just a fancy way of saying the sled has high quality rollers. And secondly, it uses cylindrical guide rods. It doesn't use crappy square tubing rails like you'll find on cheap knockoffs, which add a lot of friction. Let's talk performance on exercises, starting with the leg press. There's not much to actually say about it just because it's pretty much flawless. You get full range of motion, even if you're short. And again, it just feels incredibly smooth. The handles are at the perfect position to grab, and the locking handle is easily within reach on your right-hand side. The adjustable backrest lets you position your hips at whichever angle feels best with your body mechanics. And when you start with a bend in the hip, this is what virtually eliminates the risk of bottoming out, even when going deep, as compared to hack squats where your hips start straight. Now, for hack squats, these are done with the backrest flat and with the shoulder pad attachment installed. And they feel great overall, very much like a real hack squat machine. Range of motion is generally good, and I'm able to go deep without problems most of the time, but it's not perfect. If I'm going really deep, like fully ass to grass, and I'm not totally controlling the descent, then I'll sometimes tap the sled at the bottom of the track. Not all users will run into range of motion issues, but if you do, the best way to mitigate it is by putting the shoulder pad in the lowest setting and using the steepest footplate angle. Likewise, you can also try positioning your feet lower on the footplate to squeeze out a little bit more depth. I'm 5'11", and like I said, range of motion is typically not a big problem for me on hack squats, but it can certainly be more of an issue for shorter lifters. My 5'2" wife was able to get below parallel without issue on hack squats, but she does bottom out notably higher than I do when going deeper. One other workaround I've found for this is adjusting the backrest angle just one click up. This gives you a lot of extra depth. I'm not sure if it technically still is considered hack squats at that point, but it feels very similar and you can go deeper. Now, I want to talk more in depth about the shoulder pad attachment since it's a big part of hack squats. Now, the pads are thick, decently cushiony, but still supportive enough that you feel stable and you're never at risk of feeling the hard wooden base beneath. There are 4 different shoulder pad height settings. As mentioned, I use the lowest one to maximize range of motion since I like to squat deep. And even though the hack squat range of motion is generally adequate for my height, a bit more depth would be nice, even for me. But especially for much shorter lifters who like to go fully ass to grass. One potential solution that Force USA could potentially do would be a redesigned shoulder pad attachment that sits lower, either through a thicker pad or a cambered frame that allows the pad to travel further down. Of course, this could come at the cost of reducing the max pad height, which would affect taller users. Ideally, the pad height range would be more dynamic in both directions, but that's a design challenge beyond my wheelhouse. I did see a pretty clever DIY solution from YouTuber JBTV, who attached yoga blocks to the shoulder pads to effectively lower them a few inches, which increased the range of motion significantly. So that's a pretty practical solution if you need it. Another thing I noticed in testing this attachment is that if you raise the pads to the higher positions, something that taller lifters will need to do, the attachment develops a noticeable amount of wiggle because it's just not as deep in the receiver. It's not dangerous and it is stable, during, like when you're actually using it, because you're pressing into it, but it's something that could definitely be improved. The handles on the shoulder pads feel great. They're ergonomically positioned, have nice rubberized grips that haven't come loose or started to wear. One small thing to watch out for though, if you're adjusting the shoulder pad height while pulling the pop pin, it's easy to accidentally pinch your finger if the attachment drops too fast. So just be careful with your finger placement on that. The machine also includes a calf raise attachment that inserts into the center of the foot plate with a pop pin. It has 3 positioning holes, and I found that placing it furthest out gives the best range of motion, at least for me, since I have very good ankle mobility. I appreciate that the attachment's edges are angled down so your foot isn't pressing directly into a hard edge. One negative is that if the foot plate is at its steepest angle, the calf attachment will wiggle with each rep. It's not dangerous, but it is annoying. The solution I've found is to lower the foot plate by 1 setting, which completely stops the calf attachment from wiggling. Once you have the right setup, it's excellent. You can perform the movement effectively with lots of stability, full range of motion, and the ability to load a lot of weight, which is the perfect recipe for gains. When not in use, you can store the attachment under the foot plate in the receiver, which is very convenient. Now, the foot plate is one of my favorite aspects of the machine overall. It is massive at 31.5 inches wide by 27.5 inches tall, but it doesn't really add that much to the machine's footprint since it's mostly within the dimensions of the frame. You can go narrow, wide, high, or low with your foot placement. I've never felt restricted whatsoever, but the cheaper knockoffs I've seen have significantly smaller foot plates that will definitely limit your foot placement. Being able to vary your foot position is very important for this machine. It's how you emphasize different muscle groups, and generally the higher or wider placements target the hams and glutes more, whereas lower or narrower placements bias the quads. The surface of the foot plate is textured, giving it a good amount of grip, so it will keep your feet from sliding even when you're using the foot plate at lower angles. The foot plate is also adjustable with 5 angles to choose from. So let me tell you how I use them, and in general, how changing the angle affects different things. So I prefer the steepest angle for both leg press and hack squats. It gives me the best range of motion and force transfer. And as mentioned already, I go 1 angle flatter for calf raises. Now, flatter foot plate angles can also help those with limited ankle mobility to go deeper. It's also helpful for taller users to keep their feet on the platform in case their feet are overhanging on the foot plate at steeper angles. And in terms of safety, there are 2 safety features on this machine that you need to know about. The first is the locking lever. At the start of an exercise, you just push the sled up slightly with your legs and it releases the lever automatically, which is convenient. Once you're done with your set, you grab it and pull it up to lock the sled in place. It works well, but my only gripe, a minor one at that, is that it can be a bit challenging to reach the lever during hack squats since you're lying flat and the shoulder pad is pressing against your shoulders, so it takes more effort to get to it, but it's still very doable. The other safety feature is the removable safety pin. It stops the sled from going down too far in case you fail at the bottom of a rep. It inserts in any of the 8 different holes in the middle tube between the guide rods. It's simple but effective, though I don't use it on hack squats since that would reduce my depth. I only wish there were a convenient place to store it when it's not installed. The machine has 4 well-placed band peg holes near the front of the frame, allowing you to add band pegs to attach resistance bands. But band pegs don't come standard, which is too bad. If you want some, luckily Force USA and plenty of others sell them pretty cheap. Just make sure to get 5/8 inch pegs. If you do end up using bands, I recommend one per side, folded in half and anchored from the peg to the weight horn. The band resistance kicks in hard at the top, so I recommend using bands along with plates if you want a more consistent challenge throughout the rep. The 13.5 inch weight sleeves give you plenty of room if you're using cast iron plates. However, if you train with bumper plates like I do, you'll eventually run out of room, especially for leg press, which requires more weight than hack squats. I actually ended up buying some thinner cast iron plates to get more out of the machine and increase the resistance. Build quality overall is solid for the price. It's not commercial grade, but it's definitely above budget tier. The sled moves very smoothly and the frame is sufficiently strong and heavy with a total weight of 247 pounds. Heavy enough for stability and security, but not so heavy that you can't relocate it if needed. A wide base and angled support framing also bolster its stability. Likewise, the footplate is sturdy and the upholstery is thick and durable with an embossed Force USA logo, which adds a nice touch. The powder coat finish is decent, nothing premium, but it's held up well aside from the one chip on the calf raise attachment. The only significant build quality quirks are the shoulder pad wobbling at higher positions, as does the calf raise block at the steepest footplate angle. Force USA claims this machine works for users from 4'8" to 6'6", and that seems pretty accurate, but I think that users at or above average height range will have the best experience. As mentioned throughout, shorter users won't be able to hit full ass to grass depth on hack squats without modifications. So here's the bottom line. If you're looking for a compact, versatile leg machine that delivers great performance without completely taking over your gym, I truly think this should be at the top of your list. Like, really, I would stop squatting while testing this, and I don't really want to go back to it. The leg press is damn near perfect, and hack squats are very good with only relatively minor limitations depending on your size and depth preferences. Calf raises, band resistance capabilities, multiple adjustment points, it's all there. Are there quirks? Sure, but at $999, this machine punches way above its weight. And while there are definitely cheaper knockoffs out there, I'd advise strongly against those since they have a much smaller footplate and square guide rails that make the motion way less smooth. I have a link below if you want to check this machine out. And if you decide to buy, you can use my exclusive 5% off coupon code to save some money while supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. And if you have any questions, let me know. And if you found this review helpful, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more in-depth home gym equipment reviews coming soon. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.